Hey guys, welcome to Unbiased Rugby. Donovan here.
Gordon Parkin here.
So this was the quarterfinal weekend of Super Rugby. I got to watch two of the games in full, and the other one I just watched the highlights, and the Sharks game I watched the first half.
Yeah, to tell you the honest truth, all I watched was the last game between
The Lions and the Waratahs.
The Lions and the Waratahs. I unfortunately wasn't feeling well that I could sit up and watch.
That's fine.
All the games.
Yeah, Gordon's been very, very sick lately, and so he's taking a lot of time to recuperate. So I just go give him the scores, and it's seriously nice to actually have him here today to chat to you guys. But let's go through the games. So I thought it was a fairly interesting game, interesting weekend of rugby. I watched the Friday's game, which was the Hurricanes versus the Chiefs. I had predicted the Chiefs would win by 3 on my Super Bru, and the Hurricanes seemed to have pulled it out of the bag. So, look, the score was 32-31, but...
very close, eh?
Well, it seems very, very close, but in actual fact, I think the Hurricanes, at the last 10 minutes, they just took their foot off the gas, and they just let those two tries happen, because they basically knew they had won, and I think they were just preparing for the Crusaders next week, but...
I didn't see that game. It would be nice to watch the replay.
I've got them. I think I've got them PVR'd, so we can watch them. And then, but yeah, I enjoyed the game. I was watching the game and I thought, TJ Perinara, and he's a great player. He does a few, but he was reminding me of US van der Westhuizen. A little bit more, a little bit bigger as a scrum half. US was quite a big scrum half, and he just reminded me of. I'm not saying they're the same kind of players, but he just reminded me of that kind of player, and I think that's a great compliment for another scrum half to be compared to US van der Westhuizen.
Oh, yeah.
So, but yeah, I enjoyed the game. My Chiefs are out, so I can't. There's no more New Zealand sides for me to support. So the Chiefs
that
are out.
puts me in a spot as well, because I'm also a very ardent New Zealand supporter. Naturally, when they play South African teams, I go with the South African team, but that's just because I've got to look a little bit patriotic.
Look a little bit. Then I woke up. The first game on the weekend was the Crusaders versus the Sharks. I'd put in my Super Bru that the Sharks would win by 5. Super Bru had warned me that I was going for a complete upset. And look, let's be honest, I was close.
I don't know what the score.
It was 40-10.
Wow.
So I was quite close. I was about 35 points out. So, but some people in my Super Bru had predicted that kind of score, so I think they scored some serious points there. But look, it was nice to see the Beast play his 150th game. I think he's a great servant for South African rugby.
Yeah, definitely.
But that Chiefs outfit is absolutely sublime. Ryan Crotty played an exceptional game. I just think they are just Jack Goodhue. They're laden with stars, and I just think the Sharks were, I don't know, they were like guppies.
Yeah.
They were really. They were outclassed, outmatched, out everything.
I think some people refer to them as guppies as well.
Yeah, no, I have. When they play the Bulls, I call them the Guppies. So it's the Bulls versus the Guppies. But I was going to buy a Sharks cap to support them, but luckily my wife said no. But look, the first half was great. I enjoyed that. The Sharks seemed like they were in it. There were quite a few handling errors. The one I noticed was Dan Dupree. He dropped the ball. And then there was a try begging. I can't remember who dropped it, but they knocked on in the last second, and it was a completely open try line. Look, I'm not saying it would have changed the game, but it's just frustrating when you have those handling skills right at the last move.
Yeah, handling errors. Yeah. Wasn't there a similar one with another game when they're right on the try line, and he knocked the ball forward? It wasn't the Sharks game, because I never watched that game.
I can't remember offhand. No, it's just what I'm finding. What I'm finding is that with the with the New Zealand sides, they seriously, they've got really good skills. Like they know how to catch the ball, but when they had that last final movement, they catch the ball and they finish it. And I think it would have been a little bit of a different game if the Sharks had maybe scored that try. I'm not saying they would have won. I'm just saying it may have just changed it a little bit.
So was it 40-10?
40-10. That's a hiding. Yeah, that is a hiding. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And look, the Sharks did just make it, but I'd say from about 8th place down, none of those teams would have been able to take on the Crusaders.
Too strong.
Too strong. Next game of the weekend was the Waratahs versus the Highlanders, and that was 30-23 to the Waratahs.
Yeah, I didn't watch that game either.
Well, I watched the highlights of the game, and what frustrated me the most was that I think at one point they were 23-6, the Highlanders.
Yeah.
And then the Waratahs did a huge big comeback, and then they obviously won the game. So credit to the Waratahs for doing it. Like I said, I didn't personally watch the game. I just watched the highlights. And the highlights, you only get a little bit of a feel for the game.
Yeah.
So yes, the Waratahs are into the semis. Congrats to them. I don't think the Highlanders season was good. I think they had a good season overall, but from the last 4 or 5 games, they've just really been off the boil. They just haven't been the same kind of side. Even their big players just haven't come to the party or anything like that. So for me, I think the Waratahs deserve to go through. Last game of the weekend, we had the Lions versus the Waratahs in Johannesburg, and the Lions won 40-23.
The most amazing thing about that whole game was what's the youngster's name?
Yankees.
Yeah, Yankees, the drop kick, and it reminded me so much of the one that
Stransky
put over at the World Cup. That's what won us the World Cup. I think it was 94, 95. Yeah.
So I enjoyed the game. I think I'd read somewhere that the Springbok defence coach helped the Lions that week, and you could see it in their game. The defence was a lot better. I think we don't realise when Johan Ackerman left last year, he took the defence coach with him, or the defence coach went to Munster. So the Lions not only lost their head coach, but they lost their defence coach. So they were hit quite hard. So, and Swayze de Bruin he just believes in, I'm going to score more tries than you, all out attack. But all credit, the defence was great. I personally don't think Yankees should have got man of the match. I think it should have been Malcolm Marx. But saying that, Yankees did score 20 points. With the boot, he did do the drop goal, he did do the cross kick. So yeah, credit where credit's due. He did do that. But best moment of the match was Malcolm Marx intercepting a pass and running across 40-50 meters and scoring a try. Yeah, so I thought that was brilliant. But yeah, so it looks like the Lions have. So next week's games are going to be the Hurricanes versus the Crusaders, playing in Christchurch, and then the Waratahs playing the Lions in Johannesburg.
Oh, that should be interesting, eh?
It would be interesting. One thing I have to say is I watched. Well, I didn't watch all the games, but I watched the highlights, and I think like Ellis Park. How many people can Ellis Park seat? 50, 60,000?
Yeah, easily.
If you took every single game this weekend, I mean all 4 games, none of them would have filled Ellis Park. If you combine them all together. Yeah. And it's
dismal, eh?
That is dismal. It's indicative of there's something wrong at Super Rugby at the playoffs, and there's been a lot of talk about a round robin, or it should be completely fair from a point structure, so the top teams get their home finals. It makes sense. I agree with that it should work that way. But at the same time, I personally, I'm not saying everyone would slowly start losing interest in a game when from the quarterfinals I've got no skin in the game. So there's no incentive for me to go watch 4 New Zealand sides play.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not saying I don't like New Zealand rugby. I love New Zealand rugby. It's just there has to be some kind of incentive for me to actually carry on watching. So yes, I'm saying the conference system is not 100% right. but there has to be a way of trying to be a little bit inclusive as well, because I think the hardest thing for New Zealand is they're a victim of their own success. They're so good, they're so far ahead of South Africa and Australia and the Waratahs or Argentina, that they are in a different category. So they're always going to be top. They're always going to have the most points. They're always going to have the best players. They're always going to have the greatest skills. But there needs to be a way of I don't know. I don't know. Put your comments down below of what you guys think would be a little bit fair. I'm not just saying from a points point of view. Try think of it as how to include all the participants. The people that watch the game, the people, the coaches. What's the most inclusive system? And I think it's difficult. It's a difficult thing to say.
They need to tackle it at an international level, because if you look at our South African rugby and a bit of New Zealand and Australian rugby, you have diminishing crowds, and those crowds are the spectators, are the people that actually give the team support.
But what's strange, like I watch Pro 14 and I watch Aviva Premiership, and those stadiums are full. They are packed. Yes,
look at Sevens.
Yeah, exactly. The stadiums are maybe 10, 20,000 people. That's how big the stadiums are. But they're packed week on week, and it makes no difference if the Kings are playing Munster. So it's the top team playing, or the Kings playing Leinster, and it's not. That's the bottom team playing the top team, and the stadium is full.
Chock-a-block, yeah.
Maybe not when the Kings play at home. Then there's only about 3 people in the stadium. But overseas, the stadiums are full. You watch Six Nations, the stadiums are full, and so there's something a little bit missing.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, because if you look at Sevens here in Cape Town, they have a full to capacity stadium, and as soon as it's proper rugby union, they sort of seem to lose their spectator base.
I also think it's also the times when the games happen. Like as a South African, our New Zealand games are at 9 o'clock in the morning. So it's either 7 o'clock or 9 o'clock. So it's actually quite easy for us to watch New Zealand games. The Australian games are normally at about 11, around about that time, and then the South African games are in the afternoon. So we're probably the most fortunate that the times all coincide. I'm sure Australia and New Zealand, the times coincide, but the South African games end up being 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I think between New Zealand and Australia, there's about a 2-3 hour.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
Not a lot, yeah.
So maybe this side of Australia, not the other side.
Yeah.
But so there's some maybe the South African teams need to play earlier in the day. Maybe they play morning games as opposed to afternoon games, and then the games would be on a lot earlier in New Zealand, and it would make it a little bit more interesting across the thing. But look, something has to change, and look, we don't know what it is, and at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the TV deals.
Yeah.
What TV wants, that's where the money comes from. So, but overall, it was a great weekend of rugby. I'm hoping we'll end up watching both games next weekend. What do you think's going to happen next weekend between the Hurricanes and the Crusaders?
I don't know. I can't even comment very accurately on what happened this past weekend. And I don't even know who's playing. I have been very ill, so I haven't been able to give it my concentration.
It's fine. It's fine.
I try my best, but Donovan forces me. Yeah.
So I got to get Gordon out of bed, because if he stayed there, he'd spend all day in bed, and we just got to pull him out and come watch a little bit of rugby. So I think I got him here kicking and screaming, but you can see I'm a lot bigger than him, so I just pulled him here. But I'm thinking of next weekend. I think the Hurricanes Crusaders game is going to be very, very good. I have a feeling whoever wins that game is probably a shoo-in to win Super Rugby.
Yeah.
And between the Lions and the Waratahs, look, I think it's going to be hard for the Waratahs to travel all the way to South Africa and then play at altitude. It's going to be...
How are they playing at...
Ellis Park.
Oh, gosh.
It's going to be a tough ask.
Yeah.
And if the Crusaders win and the Lions win, I did a video. It was probably my fourth or fifth video in this channel.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'll watch it, but I said, are we looking at another Lions Crusaders final?
Yeah.
And
gosh,
look, yeah, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it would be quite fortuitous that's the way that it happened.
But it's amazing with the Lions. They sort of step up to the plate and they play very well, and then they lose a few games and then back again, and
What I noticed,
they're not consistent.
what I noticed yesterday was between the Jaguares and the Lions was that you could see that the Lions know how to play playoff rugby. You know, they've been to the quarterfinals many times, the semis, and these big sides, the Hurricanes, the Crusaders, the Lions, the Chiefs, they all know how to play knockout rugby. And you could see the Jaguares just aren't there yet. But what I have to compliment the Jaguares on, generally when they're under pressure like that in previous years, or their discipline would just completely disintegrate. There'd be yellow cards, there'd be red cards, there'd be so many penalties, and there were very, very few penalties in that game, and except when Malcolm Marx got over the ball, and I don't think that's really a discipline issue. That's more a
Fault.
No, it's just a penalty at the breakdown, but there were no yellow cards. It was good, and it was clean, and there was no yellow cards. No, there was no yellow cards. And
to my knowledge,
not
well, I know I only watched the second half.
I don't think there was, but it was. That's my biggest thing that I could say about the Jaguares. If they've got the same coaching going in next year and they keep that kind of discipline, they're going to easily make the playoffs again next year, and I think they'll go even a step further. So I think they're a team to watch for next year.
They're quite a big side as well, you know, in stature and build.
Personally, I think the only side that could probably beat the Crusaders that aren't New Zealand sides would probably be the Lions. I think that they've been there before, and that's not taking anything away from the Waratahs. I think they're a great outfit, but I just think on paper and from past experience, I think the Lions are the only one.
But you know, Don, getting back to the Bulls again, what is happening? I mean, they've got this international coach.
Yeah. Look, I gave them a bit of a break, you know, saying they were building, but you know, I watched an interesting show a few weeks ago, and it's just amazing how many South African coaches for the Super Rugby sides are building, and it just seems, you know, I think it's Robbie Fleck. I think it's his third year of building. You know, you can't. You know, you've got 1 year to build, and then you got to start. You got to start bringing home.
Robbie Fleck is with Cape Town, eh?
Yeah, the Stormers. Yeah. You know, and I think you've got 1 year of building, 1 year of developing even better, and then you've got to start bringing in the silverware. So if Robbie Fleck, if he doesn't start bringing in silverware next year, then he must go. And that's the same with the Blues coach, Tato Amonga. You know, yes, you can have a building phase, and I honestly believe that. And the Bulls are also going through a building phase, but you know, next year they've got to make the quarters, else they're just not improving. But listen, guys, that's our show for this week. I enjoyed all the games this weekend. For me personally, I think the right teams got through. And yes, and if you like our channel, please subscribe. If you like our video, please like it. And I hope you guys have a great week. Chat to you guys soon. Cheers, man.
Cheers. Sorry I was such a bore this week. We'll try and improve upon it next Saturday.
Yeah, that's perfect, Gordon. You don't have to worry. If you can make it, you can make it, and that'd be great. Listen, guys, chat soon. Cheers.
Cheers.